The 2017 College Football National Championship game is this coming Monday. It features a rematch of last year's title game, Alabama versus Clemson. Last check, the average resale price for a ticket to that game, right around $3,000. And the cheapest, a little over $1,000. Just for competing in this game, the two teams get $6 million each. That's on top of the $55 million their conferences get as a base payout for the playoffs, and the $2 million plus in travel expenses, and that's just for the postseason. Then there's the TV money, the ticket money, the souvenirs, the list goes on and on. So with that in mind, would you be surprised to learn that Clemson players get just $388 per month as a stipend? And even that money was only approved a little over a year ago, despite serious objections from those who argued college players are amateurs and should not be paid anything. A New York Times piece out today looked at what kinds of things the players spend that stipend on. The list includes keeping a 1999 sedan running, paying a $100 fee for a brother to play high school football, and a pet. And when I say a pet, by the way, I'm talking about fish. Not exactly luxury spending. But should these players who are supposed to be in school for an education be getting more money or any money at all? Joining me to discuss are Shira Springer. Shira, sports and society reporter for WBUR and sports columnist at the Boston Globe. Great to see you, Shira. And Peter Roby, former Harvard University basketball coach, now the athletic director at Northeastern University. Go Huskies, do I have to say that?
Yes, you do.
I think I do. Fine.
Go.
So big schools get rich. People who make them rich historically get nothing unless they're lucky enough ultimately to become a pro, which is obviously a small percentage. So when it was decided a year ago that they could get something, whether it's that $388 a month stipend or something, did that solve the problem or at least begin to chip away at the problem?
No, it just assuaged some of the public sentiment for a while, but I think the issue is going to still be there. And,
why didn't it solve the problem? What's the problem with it?
Because there's lots more money, and there's still people that feel like it's unfair. And given the reasons that it was implemented in the first place, those things remain, which is public perception, media pressure, threats of litigation, and Congress sticking their nose in. Those are the things that actually led to it, not so much that it was about wanting to do what was in the best interest of kids.
Also, I'm thinking, I assume only the biggest, richest schools are able to do this. So doesn't it make it even harder for the one layer down schools to compete with them because they can't afford these kind of stipends? They're not mandatory. They're obviously discretionary.
Absolutely. When you're talking about the big money and the hundreds of millions of dollars, you're really talking about the Power 5 conferences. You know, you think of the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC. And so college has become a world of the haves and the have-nots. And so what you're going to have, and I think it is inevitable that colleges will eventually pay players. And when that happens, you're going to have an even bigger inequality, a bigger separation.
You've gone to, what's the Olympics? You've been to a lot of Olympics. We've talked to you about this. So, and obviously we all remember when they were amateurs, at least some of us do. Now some of them are making huge money, some modest amount of money. Is there any equivalency, any parallel, or is there not?
I do think there is sort of an equivalency there because the Olympics has been through this. There was a period of time in Olympic history under IOC President Avery Brundage where they were strict, very strict about amateurism, and they actually called Avery Brundage Slavery Avery because the athletes were so poor and were so desperate for money and they couldn't get it. They couldn't cash in on their success because he wouldn't allow them to accept anything. But like I think colleges now, the Olympic movement recognized the inevitability and the need to pay athletes because otherwise they couldn't continue training, they couldn't continue competing. And the Olympics offers a model because they allow players to have endorsement monies.
Right.
You can sign shoe contracts.
But again, you've got to be top of the line.
You have to be top of the line. Exactly. And to your point, it's the Usain Bolts who are making
pro players are playing in the Olympics now, so that whole thing has been
So to athletic directors, you're not at Alabama, you're not at Clemson, you're not at Ohio State.
Last time I checked.
The average athletic, do you care about this?
Yeah, I care about it a lot.
As a moral issue or because as a practical issue?
I care about it both on a practical issue and,
so
and a philosophical.
This isn't the solution.
Well, there's, like Shira said, there's going to be continued stratification within the division of college athletics.
How do you solve the stratification issue?
Well, let them go off and do their thing.
What does that mean?
Let the top 65 schools go off and play their own championship. Let them compete at whatever level they want to compete. Implement the programs like there is in European sports where it's a club system. And they don't have to go to school, but then they compete against themselves only and compete for their own championship. Because that's the only real solution if you're going to have people at there's 351 schools that play Division I athletics, Division I basketball. There's such a big difference on the continuum of resources. Are we really saying that schools that have almost no money are going to compete for the same championship that a school that has a $180 million budget?
And we're really only talking basketball and football, even at those biggest schools, are we not, for the most part?
Well, not really. I mean,
like
you know,
what?
Well, I mean, soccer, baseball, you look at who's winning those championships, it comes down to the same conferences for the most part all the time because they're the best resource conferences.
So is anything like that ever going to happen? I mean, I have to say, as someone who has no involvement of it except watching, it is appalling to me. When you see a team and then you read the Globe, the great piece that's done every year by one of your colleagues, where he does the graduation rates for you know, in March Madness and all that sort of stuff. And you see a lot of these schools that are paying people almost nothing, the biggest schools, the graduation rate is pathetic. So essentially that kid not only gets not paid for making the school rich, but he or she is unlikely in many of these cases to go out and have a good job because they didn't even graduate.
So I think if we accept the premise that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen.
Jackson, by the way, obviously he's one of those.
No, it's not a matter of if players will be paid. It's a matter of how. There have been a lot of great economic minds that have weighed in on this. I think they should all come together and perhaps educate the NCAA. We should start. I think Andrew Zimbalist has suggested this. Capping coaches' salaries first off. There's no need to pay a coach $9 million a
particularly
season.
At a public institution.
Then I think perhaps you let the free market decide player salaries. One thing I'd like to see is a benefits package for players too. This is something that's not talked about as part of the pay. Lifetime health care for these players who many have injuries
Are you both
after
dreaming?
they graduate.
I mean, it seems to me that, I think maybe you're intimating this, these were crumbs essentially to shut people up when the decision was made. Is there ever going to be a solution to this problem within college ranks?
Well, my sense is that Shira's expectations probably more likely to happen than my expectation of them going off and running it like a club system and stratifying the NCAA. That's more likely to happen just given where things have been going. The embarrassment of riches is what's created this monster. Yeah. When you have college conferences signing deals for over $1 billion for their TV rights, and then the students are looking around saying, but where's ours?
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand why the kids are saying what they're saying. And it's an issue. The optics have been so bad for so long. That's what's gotten us to this place. My fear, Jim, is that I come out of an environment where I was an Ivy League athlete. I came from a family that parents only went to the 7th and 8th grade. And here I was getting a chance to get an Ivy League education that's put me in a position to be able to take care of my family and have a successful career. I just don't want us to lose sight of the fact that the biggest equalizer of leveling the playing field is a quality education.
Amen. Perfect place to stop. Shira,
say amen too.
Peter, pleasure.
Thank you, Jim. Always a pleasure.
As always. Shira Springer, Peter Roby.